Here's a guy who thinks he can save you from atheism.
That's a genius.
Guys, 2 points that puts atheism in a lot of problems. Number one, how many times have you heard, oh, we know the laws and theories that has brought the universe into existence? Hashtag Big Bang.
No, I don't think we do. The Big Bang describes the earliest moments in the universe's history, but I don't think it describes how it came into existence. As best we can tell, the universe is existence. It's not like there was existence first, and then the universe subsequently entered said existence. There was no existence prior to the universe for the universe to come into, therefore I don't think it came into existence at all.
Therefore,
God does not exist.
That's not an argument I've ever heard anyone actually make. I would not argue that since the universe was not created, there therefore is no God. The fact that the universe wasn't created simply means that there is no reason to infer the existence of a creator God. I don't think it refutes the idea of a God, it simply means that you don't need to assume there's a God to explain the universe.
that's incorrect because laws don't cause things themselves. For example, Newton's law can explain the movement of the football, but it's the actual football player that causes the ball to move in the first place.
No, they don't explain movement, they just describe it. Physical laws can both describe the movement of the ball and the movements and even decisions of the football player who is moving it. Newton's laws are rather incomplete, but there's nothing going on inside the body or brain of the football player that can't be described by the current laws of physics.
And number two, how many times have you heard, oh, we know the mechanism that has brought about life on this planet, hashtag evolution.
No, evolution is not the mechanism that has brought about life on this planet. That's abiogenesis, and we have some idea how that works, but not a very complete picture.
Therefore,
God does not exist.
again, this is incorrect because knowing the mechanism does not refute a designer.
I agree, that's not an argument I would make. Rather, my position is that knowing that there's a mechanism that can operate on its own makes it unnecessary to infer the existence of a designer. Maybe there's a designer, whatever that even means, but it doesn't seem at all necessary to have one.
For example, if you know how a Ford car works, that doesn't mean that the creator of the Ford car, Mr. Ford,
Hello.
does not exist.
Goodbye.
This is not a fitting analogy. Knowing how life works does not mean that one need not infer a designer, but knowing how life developed does mean that one need not infer a designer.
We have science. Do we need God?
Now, granted, science has been very useful to us over the years. It's led to the cure of many diseases. It's removed many superstitions like...
Demons cause eclipses.
Now, that's all well and good, but some people take it a tad too far and say, because we understand the mechanisms without involving God, therefore there's no God.
I wouldn't make that inference, but I would say that inferring a god's existence is explanatorily superfluous.
Now that is some dodgy logic. That's like someone believing Mr. Ford makes his car move.
Hello.
Later he realizes he was a plonker and it's actually the engine.
Goodbye.
That doesn't mean that the designer of the car, Mr. Ford, doesn't exist. Remember, if there's no Mr. Ford to design the car, there's no car for us to understand. If there's no God to design the universe, there's no universe for us to understand.
You obviously don't believe that this argument applies to everything, because you wouldn't be convinced at all if someone were to tell you, if there's no designer who designed your God, then there's no God to understand. Clearly you believe that at least one thing can exist without needing to be designed. You need to explain why it is that everything requires a designer except the designer itself.
Does evolution contradict God?
Does anybody actually argue that it does?
Our living world is replete of such mechanisms of mind-bending complexity which point towards only one creator, Allah.
Why does complexity point toward any creator at all? Is Allah not himself complex? Does he need a designer? If not, why does complexity require design in all cases except one? To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.